Welcome to Coffee with Citrin Cooperman. I'm your host, Mayor Mintz. Coffee with Citrin Cooperman is a video series in collaboration with Commercial Observer that features engaging interviews with esteemed real estate executives. The purpose of the series is to dive into the pressing matters affecting the industry and your respective businesses. Today I'm joined with Rob Palumbo, President and CEO of Coldwell Wingate. Thank you for joining us, Rob.
Pleasure to be here with you today, Mayor. Thanks for having me.
So I know you guys are at a unique vantage point in the real estate industry because you guys see ahead and you guys are planning out jobs. New York, the market's been pretty shaky. What are you guys seeing from your vantage point with the market going forward?
Right now, there's a tremendous amount of interest in converting buildings, commercial buildings, to residential. We're seeing that about right before the holidays. We walked 2 buildings in the same day, a third that same week, with clients looking to see if they can convert those from commercial to residential. There's a demand there, there's a desire there. Not so sure that the incentives are there.
So what are the challenges to doing that? I know most people look at a building, they see it empty and say, oh, let's just put residentials there. What kind of challenges are you guys seeing?
Probably the first thing that we look at is the floor plate to see if it makes sense changing the layout from an open commercial space to a residential. By code, residential requires a lot more light and air than a commercial building. The next thing that we would probably look at, the facade. You need operable windows on a residential building. Not many of the older commercial buildings have those, and even if they do, they'd have to be replaced. The elevator, the core, usually not in the location that you would want it, so you'd like to see if you could salvage where it is and make it a little more cost effective that way. And then the mechanical systems will always need to be upgraded.
So when you look at these buildings, and assuming you find the right building to actually do it, is that something that pencils out more expensive than just a regular ground up deal?
The numbers are not what often developers want them to be. Unfortunately, they're still very expensive to make these conversions. Post 9/11, when many of the offices and businesses left Lower Manhattan, there were incentives to convert those commercial buildings to residential buildings, and it was very successful. We don't have that, and we need that now.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of buildings make sense? Like, have you seen any of them that make sense recently?
Oh, we have. We certainly have. I think there's an abundance of mid-block buildings that are not too wide or too deep, where you could still get the effect of light and air.
And the mechanical systems you're talking about are just redoing the whole HVAC system, or is it a lot more involved than that?
HVAC and the really everything, soup to nuts. The electrical system usually needs a complete upgrade. Plumbing system, even if it's still working, it's old and not reliable at that point in time. So in the mechanical systems, clearly there's a lot better systems that are out today than when those buildings were built.
And what about the lobbies? Because I know like a lot of the office buildings, especially the newer ones, have these wide lobbies, very bright, very engaging. But a lot of the residential stock, especially the ones that people are looking to convert, they have a totally different layout for the lobby. Is that something that's a challenge too in this area?
I don't know if I would call it a challenge, but it's certainly something that usually gets completely redone.
So I know we've been having issues because of COVID with supply chain and with costs of materials. Are you seeing that trend continue, or are you seeing it finally starting to get a little better?
I think on the supply chain side, things have tightened up a bit and stabilized. I also think that we've also become more aware of it, and we're just planning for it, and we're starting to manage it a lot better. As far as costs, we're doing a lot of bidding and buying right now, so I'm seeing costs in real time. I think they've leveled off. Material prices seem to have stabilized. What we are seeing, though, with some subcontractors and some trades, is the labor costs are coming down. A lot of the subcontractors are not seeing the pipeline that they had a few years back. They're becoming concerned. They're becoming more aggressive, more competitive, more creative on how they can make their prices better. So from that perspective, we are seeing some drop.
So when you think of value engineering, what kind of systems are you guys looking at to get the best bang for the buck?
To get true value engineering, a construction manager needs to be brought on early, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're in pre-con on several jobs that aren't going to go into the ground for a good year or so out right now, and that's when you could really get effective cost engineering. That allows us time to look at things such as the facade, maintain the design intent, but change the system into something that's more cost-effective, more readily available, something that would help on the schedule side. Same with the mechanical systems. Anything that touches the structure, certainly something that you want to do early on. When you get brought on early and the design is complete, you're asked to do value engineering. At that point, you're really changing finishes, which doesn't really move the needle very much. So to get value engineering, a CM needs to be brought on very early, and we're seeing that.
Focusing on the facade, like what's an example of something that you've changed or you've seen people do in order to get the cost of the facade down? Because I know that's a pretty big cost and a pretty big design element.
Sure. Well, we had one project where it was a typical brick facade with punch windows. There was a delay in getting the building started because they were still doing demo and moving tenants out of the building. So what we did is we implemented a change where we made the facade a precast facade, had the windows factory installed into the precast and set with a crane. Since we had the time, because the job wasn't started, the design team had the time to implement the change. At the end of the day, the building looked just the same. The architect was very happy. It saved on schedule, which pulled back some of that earlier delay that our client experienced.
And what about timing of materials and the like? Is that something, I know in the past everyone was factoring in where the materials came from just to make sure that they actually arrived. Is that something you're seeing get a little better, or is that something you're still experiencing issues with?
I think it's getting better because I think we're all managing it better. We're all being very well aware of where things are coming from. There's a lot of hostility going on in the world right now, so it's important to know where things are coming from.
So, we're sitting here beginning of 2024. What do you see for the next year or two in the construction area, and what would you like to see done differently?
Well, 2024 is certainly going to be a challenging year. I participate and sit on the board of several industry organizations. So I'm at the table with our industry peers and our competition, and we all are basically in agreement. The consensus is that 2024 is going to be a slower year. A new 421A would certainly help. We're not building anything for people to live in, aside from the upper top tier of the market, which is certainly still strong, but has cooled a bit. So a 421A would probably go a very long way.
What other costs can you see impacting the industry?
Insurance. Insurance is a huge factor right now. They continue to rise. I would say here in New York, insurance costs are insane. What we pay right over the river in New Jersey is literally half, if not less than half, than what we pay right here for insurance. And that hurts both the contractor, the developer, and the subcontractor across the board.
So are there any bright spots in the market in New York that you're seeing?
Healthcare, life sciences still remain strong. We're working in all the major hospitals and have maintained a presence there for quite some time. And public work. There's certainly a lot of public work going on right now. We have several jobs in process. Schools, we're working in a couple of the colleges, both here in New York and right over the river in Jersey.
Okay, well, looking forward to seeing what happens in 2024. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.